Today. My name is Jeff Gisler, and I'm an attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center. I lead our organization's Clean Water program. It's in that capacity that I've worked on a number of issues that are before you today. I've described 5 of those in my testimony, and I've described them as they relate to the Cape Fear River in North Carolina. The Cape Fear is North Carolina's largest river system, and it provides the drinking water for more than 2.1 million people. And it faces many challenges. Those include threats created by this administration by the proposed changes to the 401 certification regulations, by the threat of coal ash pollution, the threat caused by sewage blending, the changes to the Waters of the U.S. definition, and from PFAS contamination. It's those last 2 that I want to talk about today in this opening statement, but I'm happy to answer questions about any of those topics. I want to first talk about the Waters of the U.S. change and the radical proposal put forward by this administration in February of this year. And I think it's best to do that by looking at Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's one of the major cities on the Cape Fear, and it's home to our largest military base in Fort Bragg. The change in the definition of waters of the U.S. will have a significant impact in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It will eliminate protections for more than half of the streams that are in the immediate vicinity of Fayetteville, and a higher percentage of wetlands. That matters in Fayetteville for 2 reasons. First is that Fayetteville gets its drinking water from the Cape Fear. And so when the streams and wetlands that flow into the Cape Fear are not protected, that drinking water will be dirtier and more contaminated. The second reason is that Fayetteville has survived 2 record-setting floods in the last 3 years from Hurricanes Matthew and Florence. We know that the very streams and wetlands that are threatened by this administration, those that dry up for part of the year, are the ones that have the greatest flood storage capacity. They are the ones that protect our communities and buffer us against storms and flooding. We cannot protect places like Fayetteville if we do not protect streams and wetlands. If we go just downstream from Fayetteville, we run into Chemours Fayetteville Works facility. For nearly 4 decades, Chemours and its predecessor have dumped Gen X and other PFAS directly into the Cape Fear at levels that are hundreds of times higher than what the state of North Carolina recognizes as a safe level. They've not only done that through their discharge pipe, they've done it through severe contamination of the groundwater under the site. Some samples have shown levels of PFAS at 46 million parts per trillion. The state standard for Gen X, that's for Gen X, and the state standard for Gen X, or the health advisory level, is 140 parts per trillion. That groundwater flows into the Cape Fear and combines with their discharge from their pipe and flows 55 miles downstream, where it's taken into the drinking water supply for more than 200,000 people who live in Pender County, New Hanover County, and Brunswick County, North Carolina. Those people have been drinking highly contaminated groundwater for decades, drinking water for decades, from a plant that is more than 80 miles away. Unfortunately, this administration has not responded to that crisis. The PFAS action plan that has been proposed doesn't include any meaningful action that will help the communities like Wilmington, like those in Pender and Brunswick counties. It does too little, and it takes too long. If EPA were serious about addressing this issue, they could take immediate action that would stop PFAS from getting into our waterways and not only focus on how we can clean it up after it's out in our environment. The agency has chosen not to do that. It's also decided that reversing decades of legal interpretation of the Clean Water Act, that it's okay for Chemours and companies like it to pollute our drinking water so long as they pollute the groundwater first and let that flow into our drinking water supplies, that is acceptable under the Clean Water Act. It is not. It is not allowed, and the statute prohibits it. This EPA should as well. The Cape Fear is unique in many ways. This story is not unique. Many of our rivers across the country face these same challenges. And if this administration is successful, these stories will end in disaster. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.